This is the End of the Road podcast with your host, Michael Coco. Exploring the horizons we never touch because we're already there.
Welcome back, everyone. I just found out that Tamra Lucid passed away, and I wanted to re-release the podcast that we did in 2021 as really an offer of respect and tribute, and hope that her message, her charm, and her inspiration live on. And so without further ado, here's the wonderful author, filmmaker, riot girl musician, Tamra Lucid. Well, Tamra, it sort of looks like this book is about your relationship with not only Manley, but your current husband, Ronnie, as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. You know, and I don't know, has anybody ever told you that your writing is sort of distant and understated, and you sort of pack a punch without a lot of words?
I appreciate that comment immensely.
Well, I was thinking, I love this little vignette of how you and your husband, Ronnie Pontiac, met. And it happens at the beginning of the book, and it happens all on the same page. I mean, there's a lot of action and a lot of things I think that were left unstated, perhaps, in how your relationship developed.
Or it could be simple evasiveness.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So what are you evading then?
I don't know. But we should probably delve into this in a more psychological manner.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, given the subject of our podcast, I mean, Manley Hall, and having how he was reading people's minds, let's kind of before we get to Manley, though, I'm going to stick with Ronnie, though, because you start with the story of how you met
I chose
Ronnie.
to.
Yeah. So do you want to elaborate on how he rescued you?
Well,
or did he rescue you? I mean,
oh yes, he most definitely did.
Well, there were only 4 guys against you. I mean, couldn't you take him? I mean, why did you need his help?
Because I was too short and I wasn't confident with my martial arts skills then.
Okay, so maybe we should backtrack a little bit. So you've had how long have you been married to Ronnie?
Since 1984.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a long time, but you want to tell the story of how you met him?
Well,
I mean, it's in the book, but it's very sort of skeletal, and I think there's a lot that is. I thought there was a lot there that maybe needs to be uncovered, perhaps.
Well, what do you think that is?
Okay, so what do I think that is?
Not that I intend to turn this around on you or anything.
No. That's and by the way, that's completely fair. Because I was going to tease you about being a riot girl, writing stories about your relationship with 2 men. But anyway, but you asked me a question, so I'm not being evasive. I'm not being evasive, but I like how you were being evasive. So here's kind of the way I wanted to the way I was thinking about this is, I mean, I don't know how scary it was for you when you were confronted with 4 lowlifes, as you call them in the book.
No, I was terrified. I was
okay. So you and he did come in and save you from them.
I had to ask him first.
Oh, okay.
Well, he was a bit aloof and reserved, and
right.
It was a guy standing in the rain smoking a black cigarette and looking a little bit away from the fray.
Right. And you had mentioned, I believe you had set this up by saying that the manager of that club, was it the Rainbow Room or something like that?
Yeah, the Rainbow Bar and Grill. And the owner, Mario, apparently saw me looking at Ronnie in the rain, and he intervened. He actually, grabbed me by the arm and pulled me aside and said, he saw I was looking at Ronnie. I was going towards him, and he said, hey, you're a nice girl. Stay away from that guy. He's trouble. Mm-hmm. And I thought my opinion of Ronnie was much better than this guy. And so I proceeded to walk up to Ronnie and say, I need your help. I'm in a really bad situation. And would you help me? And he took a long time to answer. He was still staring. And he was all in black, like I said, and smoking a black cigarette in the rain, all in black. That's enemy country. And he went, all right, what do you need? It was just simply a man of few words.
Yeah.
But I felt completely confident at that moment that Ronnie would be sure that nothing bad would happen to me. And he did make sure. He and his drummer friend, who were looking to put the band back together again, stayed with me and made sure these guys didn't come after me. And they tried. And Ronnie stood up and basically stopped the nonsense. And it especially stopped dramatically when his drummer got up, who was a very large dude. And the creeps ran away. And I knew I liked Ronnie a lot at that moment.
Well, obviously.
It was also the fact that when he did talk, he had so many interesting things to say. I just found him fascinating as a human being. So that helped too.
Yeah. Well, and going back to how your writing is kind of understated, but kind of packs a punch. 2 paragraphs later, you move in with Ronnie and move in with cats and some sort of recipes and plants and things like that. So you domesticated him all in 2 paragraphs.
Well, no, that domestication process took a little bit longer. That was simply, I love that it was 2 paragraphs, and you noticed that because it was 2 weeks and I moved in. It took 2 weeks.
Right.
And I haven't left yet. And and that being able to food was a real. I noticed that the basic things when you do adopt a feral is you make sure that there's steady nutrition and certain steadiness of life.
Well, so who adopted who and who was the feral?
I think we both were feral.
Yeah.
But I think I had a more healthy approach to feral. Food sources, shelter sources, comfort sources were a priority, definitely.
Yeah, and in your book, you even have a recipe there for those zucchini pancakes, right?
That's Marie's recipe.
Manley Hall's wife's favorite.
Manley's favorite, please.
Oh, okay.
Papa's favorite.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. That was the winner. So I thought maybe that would help.
Right. So then you and Ronnie, then, it's like for the rest of the book, you're a team. I mean, you seem to do everything together.
Yeah, we do.
And you discover Manley together.
Yes.
And there's kind of a story about how you first met Manley too, or at least his first lecture where he kind of spoke to you.
He did that to everybody. I think he probably does it online. It was just part of his uniqueness, maybe exemplifying how perfectly suited he was for what he did. He just had a knack during those lectures because of all the things he was talking about to actually touch people personally. That sounds obscene. But to connect personally on an intellectual manner or spiritual and trigger that sounds like me. I experienced that. he couldn't, this is the funny thing I mentioned in the book. He couldn't see anybody. I mean, he was 80 years old. He had to hold his books right in front of his face. And we were just a lovely, soft focus, lots of Vaseline on the camera, blur out there. So the individuals that I can attest to the experience. I'm sitting there as I go into the lecture. I notice these purple and gold. Well, it's purple and yellow, but Lakers fan. It was purple and gold weeds coming out of the cracks in the sidewalk. And I was just like looking at it like, there's something profound about that. These little weeds taking seed and flowering out of the most horrible environment, concrete and, nothing there, but still they flower. And then to have him mention the way human beings will go through adversity and like a flower sprouting out of nowhere, they receive enlightenment or, get inspiration to be better.
Right. And so it was, you felt that first time you saw Manley Hall, he was directly addressing you in the audience.
Well, you also have to understand, I didn't think that was Manley Hall.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you thought it was just the substitute.
I thought it was a substitute lecturer, which,
that's right. Yeah,
I love turning around to Ronnie and going, who was that guy? He was really good. Ronnie's looking at me like, no, that was Manley Hall. No shit. Oh, he's great. I like this guy. He's great. Yeah. He mentioned something that I was thinking of right before I came. Me too. Yeah, that earthquake thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's the other part of this is that Ronnie, your now soon-to-be husband, thought that Manley was speaking directly to him as well with the earthquake thing.
But this is the thing. When I mentioned our friend Stephen Ross, when we first met Stephen, we were talking over the Xerox machine in the shipping department. And he's like, yeah, that first lecture, like he was talking right at you, huh? And we were like, yes. He's like, that happened to me too. That's it happens to almost everybody who goes to see him lecture the first time. It's remarkable. Now, Stephen thought it was channeling. And on a level, boy, it sure seems like it. But it's also, I don't know. Like I said, that man was born to do that function. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And, when people are capable of translating wisdom, inspiring, motivating in the proper way, teaching, people who do that are just the most amazing people in the world. That's evolution right there happening. And it's for your soul. What better thing can you do?
Yeah. And did you ever get a sense about what the source of what you mentioned channeling? Did you ever get the sense that, Manley might have been channeling something, or that he had some sort of daemon or because it's supposedly, and again, I remember reading something that he wrote, Secret Teaching of the Ages, just almost, in very short time. And it's amazing that somebody, with his background could sort of amass that in the time he did, such that it was kind of a mystery that he was able to pull that off.
Well, I think it's, of course, you look at it superficially and you go, oh my God, he's 20 years old and, but you've got to remember, this is a man who immersed, he had a great mind. He had an absolute desire for learning, and he fancied all things occult and mystical, and particularly the Asian aspect of it. I think he mellowed into the Asian side of it, the meditative side, the more contemplative side. At first, I think he was like any other human being who inclined towards, the occult and stuff. It's like, this stuff is fancy. What else does it do? These, great psychic experiences and whatnot. But it isn't about that. That's not, magic is more the art of self-discovery, than anything else. It's still the journey of understanding yourself, why you're motivated this way, what you're motivated toward. Should you be motivated toward that? Maybe you should go somewhere else. Learning all those skills. It's sort of like learning to be a martial artist and never having to use those skills. And yet, learning to be a martial artist, you learn to be a master. And it's of self. And that's what it's all about. So this young man with all these inclinations amassed everything he could and made an encyclopedia out of it. Love it. I love encyclopedias. I mean, I just can't imagine. I always, if only Mr. Hall could have seen Google search, Wikipedia, I don't know, all the different ways to get information now. How marvelous that would have been. I mean, what a delight for him.
Right. Yeah, that must have been something. So what did he, what you used the image of the flower coming up through the pavement and how that was something that Manley alluded to when he first spoke to you, or you first attended his lecture. Mm-hmm. What was there anything sort of prophetic about that, or how did your interaction with him change you and sort of your, how you looked at magic or your spirituality, or how did it transform you? I mean, it kind of, I had the sense of it that you and Ronnie kind of just, found a home in the whole place in a way, and kind of took off from there.
Maybe this alludes to my writing style. But again, on the bottom of that statue in front of PRS, it says, "Know thyself."
Right.
And it seemed like all the traditions that he was aware of and could speak to you for hours about, with vast knowledge, all of the traditions come back to the same basic principles: self-awareness, self-understanding. It's kind of stoicism, but I think the one thing that I tried to take out of it that was something that I was more inclined towards was also, that he taught that too, to have a sense of humor. I mean, the old boy was good, man. His example of behavior, of how to deal with life, was really, it was really good. I think it saved us on a lot of levels.
Yeah, you give examples that he had some practical advice too, with some people that were wanting to stay at your place, and Ronnie was inclined to let them stay. And Manley said, "Well, just tell them, or you're going to call the police if they don't leave."
Oh yeah, that was one of the highlight moment. When she was a hustler and taking over our apartment, and Ronnie was like, "Yeah, but maybe it's real. I mean, but maybe it's not." And Mr. Hall was just, I mean, between the laughter of him and Marie, backlit with the window and the storm behind him, and it really did. The lightning did go off when he said, "All right, that's enough." This big lightning bolt. It's like, okay, Mr. Hall's going to talk now. We better listen. And, he said, "Now, tell her to leave. Tell her I told you to tell her to leave." Because Mr. Hall had some clout there. I think obviously the lady wanted to get in with Mr. Hall. And, and if she doesn't leave, tell her you're going to call the police, because that's what you do with people who try to take over your stuff. Now, kids, go back there and get your apartment back.
Yeah. And there was another little story that you had, and I thought it was interesting how you were talking about Marianne Williamson. and how you had always had a fascination with fairies and fey creatures and magical things. Did that pre-exist your time with the PRS, or is that something that developed sort of along the way? You seeing sort of magical creatures surrounding him, and it seemed like there was a lot of magical creatures surrounding Mr. Hall as well.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
No, that happened. That was probably when I was 6 years old. The first time I saw a book on the Greek gods, the myths, and I was just gone for it. I was like, this is the stuff. Zeus, Apollo, Athena. Here we go. Aphrodite, Dionysus. It was like a cheap encyclopedia, but it was an encyclopedia with pictures, and it had the Greek gods, and I just, for some reason, that stuck with me. And then when I met Ronnie, he knew a lot about the Greek gods and could tell me all kinds of stories, and these were really good stories. These were actual, yeah. So that would be where my inclinations come from, I think, a little bit. I don't know, but I always believed in reincarnation, and I don't know where I got the idea of it when I was a 5-year-old, but I knew that that happened. We all lived before. So that was just like, that was, I somehow that was imprinted on the DNA when I got here. And those are those inclinations, and that starts a person on the path of spiritual knowledge. Whatever that inclination is, it may be Greek myths, it may be the fairy tales, it may be, I like cards, and I like these cards with the paintings on them. They're so fascinating, and I just want to study this for the rest of my life because it's amazing. I see the entire universe in this. You can see the entire universe in a puddle of water. That's the point. That's the curiosity. That's the creative aspect of every individual. And that should always be allowed to flourish, sort of like, a flower in a crack in the sidewalk.
Yeah. No, I love that image of pushing through the resistance and into the light. And what sort of things got Manley excited? I mean, when you were hanging out with him in his later days. I mean, what sort of what did you have a sense of? What, I mean, given his encyclopedic knowledge of the occult and esoterica, what
did he fancy?
Yeah. I mean, what was he? Did you have a sense of what was exciting him in the time you saw him? What sort of be it anything.
A precious stamp. Oh my God, he loved his stamps. Mm-hmm. He had a massive stamp collection, and he would be just so thrilled. And every time he would get a stamp, he would tell the story of how long it took him to get the stamp, where the stamp is from, what it's about. Here's this special mark on it and what makes it unique. He loved the beautiful little details of stamps.
Interesting. Yeah.
Really loved that. He also, I think he thrived on, he always seemed to take such just total pleasure in, when you'd ask him about art or when Ronnie would ask him about a particular book and what the contents of said book and what do you think of the writer and what do you think of this part of it? And whenever it was just an exchange of I guess what he considered beautiful, and I think he considered stamps beautiful. He considered artistic culture beautiful, and the human experience of the mystical a beautiful thing to think about and consider. So any kind of topic like that, books were a big deal, to be sure. But art was so much fun to hear him talk about art and what was going on in the culture during this time and why the art was that way and what this represents and that represents. And you can see this carrying through all the way to this point in time, oh my God, he'd have so much fun. And it was just, again, he was just like opening up a marvelously illustrated encyclopedia. And I mean, I really think he had a photographic memory. I mean, it was uncanny. He could tell you where a book was. He hadn't touched it in 40 years. And he'd send Ronnie and I out to find a particular book in the library, and it's going to be on this shelf, and it's going to be this color. It's going to have this kind of writing on the front, but nothing on the spine, and it's going to be page 42. When you can do that at 80 years old, after all you've read and seen and done, that's a hell of a mind. So, a mind for books, at least.
Yeah, no doubt. Another thing I wanted to ask you about Manley Hall is what he thought of the 60s, because you allude that, there were a lot of people that came there that I think I had the sense in your writing. And again, your writing is just very terse on this. So I wanted to unpack a little bit about, I think he sort of was critical of psychedelics, perhaps, because I think the quote in your book is that they opened up psychic centers that people didn't know how to handle, basically, or something along those lines.
Well, yeah, he alluded. It was funny watching MTV with him was always a treat. Not that it was frequent, but yeah, I remember it sounded a little more like W.C. Fields when he talked about this, but he said, this is very similar to the mysteries, with the strobe lights and the intoxicants, the dancing, the music. That's a mystery school right there. Probably why clubs are still so popular. Go to the dance club. Well, you have, that is going to be a mystical experience. Now, unfortunately, he would say that people are just going there to get high and get laid. So, well, he didn't say it just like that, but I will. And, you're opening up psychic centers. Everybody knows that. And if you're not ready to deal with what comes through, then bad things might happen. It could be a bad experience. Most people, it's probably just a hangover and going, oh my God, I can't do that again. But in some cases, it really does open up psychic channels. And then you've got a series of problems that are going to be a little more difficult to untie than just a couple aspirin because your head hurts.
Had you ever seen him handle people that had opened up psychedelic channels, perhaps that they were having a difficult time closing or deal with? How Manley handled that situation, or difficult people?
No, I would not be. I would not be present when he would have a private consultation with somebody.
Sure.
That would be very bad. And I've seen him with other situations where people were. I don't know if it's somebody who took psychedelics and got opened up, but definitely people that had psychic situations where their channels were open and, they didn't know how to handle it. And he would, in one case, I remember he had somebody who thought he was being haunted or there was something psychic on him. And he did tell him to, this one I know about, he instructed the person to get two lights, a red light and a blue light. And he said to meditate on the situation, get in touch with what's going on. When you feel that presence, turn on the red light. Now let it really get centered and be there with you. And then when you feel like it's all present, switch off the red light and turn on the blue light. The blue light will chase the presence out, and you should be good to go. And that won't happen again. And be careful what you do. Basically that. So there was an instruction there for someone that I recall, like that.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's Do you know if Mr. Hall had any experience with psychedelics himself? At any time?
Mr. Hall and shrooms. Sorry. I don't know. He was young once. He could have.
You wouldn't. Well, he's.
Never say never.
It was in Hollywood, in the 1950s,
I think of seances with Ouija boards and lots of gin and bourbon.
Right.
Not psychedelics, but,
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. No, he never alluded to that, or you never got it.
He never said, Tanya, I did some speed once and I saw God. No, I don't recall a single conversation, even vaguely like that, with Mr. Hall.
Yeah.
No.
Well, what did he?
Papa was doing the shrooms. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. It's like Grandpa doing shrooms.
No, that is so uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think he saw the divine presence? Or did he ever talk about, having any mystical encounters himself?
I think his whole life was a goddamn mystical encounter. I think he worked off where, let's see. Can you ask that again?
Well, it's because he was talking, but I had this image of, you were talking about in the book, that he was a little bit critical of MTV and the hippie generation for opening up, psychic centers they couldn't control. And so, when you're saying something that leads you to believe that he himself, Manley, had some experiencing with opening up psychic centers and coming in contact with the divine. And I was wondering if he ever articulated any of that for you, or, had it, maybe told any stories about that, or in any way related any sort of mystical experience he ever had to you.
Well,
we can ask him. Maybe we should do a seance.
Ew! No.
No. I've never done a seance before. Have you?
No.
Okay.
I won't even have a Ouija board in my house. Although
I don't either. But
you know what? They
ahead.
have a Ouija board doormat on Amazon, which I have been kind of inclined to pick up. No Ouija boards.
Oh, but then you have to have the red light and the blue light, because you might let something in you need to dispel later, right?
Yeah, I've always held up a very strong no trespassing sign as far as that stuff is concerned.
Yeah. Life.
I don't need no help.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's like, life is stimulating enough. There's no sense.
I don't need that kind of problem. I just feel like, in its proper place, sure, why not? But
you called Marianne Williamson an elf, so you see magical creatures everywhere, right?
Sure. You don't need interference from the disincarnate to see the magic all around you. Listen, Marianne Williamson looks like an elf as far as I'm concerned.
I know. I'm with you on that. And you did have some very kind things to say about her in the book. Yeah. Maybe you can elaborate that a little bit about what she did with the
Project Angel Food.
Yes.
Her mission. I lost a lot of people to AIDS. And so that it was deeply personal, and as soon as she got there, and we were going through that, and she started preaching at the church on Highland and Franklin, I believe, and she was doing A Course in Miracles, and she was giving so much comfort, and it was at that time. There was very little sympathy going out in the world toward my community, and we were suffering bad. And she was like a beacon of light for this community. And Project Angel Food, which was bringing food to people who were too sick to get their own food, while they were dying. And so there were always these, everybody sat up, every grocery store in our neighborhood, there was a table and there was somebody sitting there, and they'd give you the list and you'd say, what's the most important thing this week? And they'd say, get this shaving cream and get this soap and get this cereal. And so I'd double down on those and get a few of the extras. The weird thing was that, after the people I lost, I could go in the grocery store and pick up things they liked. And that way I could kind of, heal that pain of helplessness that we all felt. And so that service, just because she came up with that idea and got people motivated and they all carried out that work, the simple thing, she healed me on a level in a very personal way. I could take some kind of action that was helping. And when you feel helpless, that's the kindest thing you can give. So she's just a hero.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about your experience, but with Manley, but how do you think that Ronnie's life changed in coming in contact with Manley? I mean, his is almost like a more dramatic story because he went with.
Oh, it is.
He changed from, I think what'd you say, the figure dressed in black, smoking a black cigarette in the rain, man, a few words.
He went from anime villain to the boy doing lectures about Emerson and yeah.
Yeah. What happened there?
Quite a jump, huh?
Yeah. Well, it must have been your good cooking. It wasn't feral anymore.
Exactly. Nothing like a home cooked meal, right? Bringing people together, healing the wounded. That was pretty amazing. And the fun part was he really showed Ronnie that, all those inclinations toward understanding the writers and the lives of the people that he admired and stuff. Ronnie and I both love history. And, this was the history of spiritual people. It's just a fascinating history. And Ronnie liked reading about that and liked talking to me about it. And we liked talking to each other about it. And Mr. Hall gave him a forum in which he could excel not only as the intellectual that likes this stuff and just the basic historian and storyteller, but also all those things that he was reading were helping him to improve as a human being. He was learning, filling up all the spots that had not been filled yet that should have been. It's, again, the same thing that a good martial arts program teaches you. Any spiritual journey is supposed to make you whole. You come to it in a fractured way, and you are made whole and solid. And that solidity was what was lacking in both our lives. So you can take that alchemically if you want, but it's simply, heal thyself, know thyself, and do something nice for other people. You'll feel better.
Yeah, and Manley seemed to see something in Ronnie that even Ronnie didn't even see almost.
Yeah, it's a very similar kind of brain function, a real similar kind of mind. A voracious reader, could assimilate masses of information in an incredibly short and good information and rapid. And put that good mind to good work and you'll get good stuff. And he learned that. Instead of being nefarious, he learned how to be more conscious.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think happened? I mean, was it like osmosis from Manley, or is it some sort of, he triggered some sort of alchemical process in Ronnie and your lives, or a little bit of each, or what do you think was going on there?
Well, you could call it that, but I mean, it's a good example. How do you take something, how do you take your interest, how do you apply it in your life in a healthy way? How do you make it of service to others? You know, if you can do that, you're going to lead a really happy life. You know, even though your quest is for yourself, to know thyself and all that other stuff, it seems very, you know, self-centered. It is not. It is actually, once you heal yourself, you can go out there and be of great service to the world and help other people feel okay. That's being a sponsor on the program. It's you know, a counselor, a good teacher. And he was a good teacher.
And is that something that you've sort of, you know, continued with all your, you know, your different activities since then, you know, working with, Indigenous Americans? Yeah, I mean, you name it. I mean, you've been involved in so many different groups that you've elevated through your contact and your writing.
That's just, yeah, it's I love what this person is doing. This seems like a genuinely great person. Can I help? I'd love to see you get that project done. Love to help you. And, it's a beautiful thing. You've created a beautiful creature. You've done something beautiful. Shannon doing Standing Rock. What a beautiful thing she did there. And for such a worthy cause. And it's noble. And it's my honor to help facilitate that good work. That it's the best thing you can do, to have the privilege of helping someone else do something great is that's an honor. That's a great thing to experience as a human being. I'm helping.
Mm-hmm. So what sort of nefarious activities are you and Ronnie up to now, or you'd like to get involved with in the future?
Oh, let's see. Well, Ronnie has a book coming out in 2022.
Oh, really? Okay. So what's the book about, or can you say?
Oh, let's see. Let me get the name right. Which, who knows if it's going to be the name. I've learned things about publishing that have been exciting. Let's see. His is American Metaphysical Religion, a mystical, magical mystery tour. And that's our working title right now. So it's 2022 for that. Then he and I in 2023 have the Hymns of Orpheus coming out again. Friend, use it to prosper. So we're going to we have revisited the Hymns of Orpheus.
Mm. More tours in the future, perhaps?
Touring? You must be joking.
Well, I mean, when everybody comes to peace with the virus.
Yeah, touring, yes, it's fun on a level. But the thing I miss most is just being with my musicians in the room together, creating the music. Because, you know, we get to have coffee and talk and, you know, and then we make pretty songs. And that's the best. It's just the camaraderie of the musicians in the room and the engineers is a really fun collective experience that I highly recommend. Even if you don't think you're a musician, I learned this from Riot Girl. If you don't think you're a musician, you are. Just go and have fun. It's called playing music. Play. Have fun playing. Feel the joy of that. Reclaim the inner child.
Well, speaking of playing music, should we have a little musical interlude and play one of your songs to get a taste of the playfulness at bay?
Okay.
So you want to introduce Kindred for everyone?
Kindred was a song that I played with the musicians. It was an improv song, and I just think it's kind of exemplary of the kind of stuff I do. We hadn't met each other, and this is Larry and Patty Schemmel and Greta Brinkman and Kyle and Diane, and it's just what happened when our wonderful engineer Wes stuck the musicians in one room, and then the other thing, that singer, in the isolation room. I had 2 dogs with me, which was wonderful. He had wonderful dogs. And, I said, play the music. And they all looked at me like, we don't have any songs. Yeah, let's do that. And this is what we came up with.
Nice. And this is not about Octavia Butler's Kindred, even though it does have the same name.
No, I can't wait to read that book. Thank you so much.
Well, this is, for some reason, Octavia Butler, I mentioned her on, I think, 3 of the last 4 podcasts. I don't know why, but it's like a theme. And again, we can't do seances, but I would love to interview her.
Well, you don't need a seance to do it. I mean, if you really concentrate hard enough and relax enough.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, anyway, let's listen to Kindred.
Okay. anything can happen. It's true.
What would you like to talk about next? So I'll ask the next question after the song's done.
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, then we should go back to Manley. Do you want to talk about like his demise, or that nefarious guy that weaseled in, or where do you want to go? Because I kind of don't, because that's kind of like a downer,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like taking advantage of the
name that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to red light. No, it's you said Manley had a red light and a green light, or a red light and a blue light. So we need to red light that.
Yeah.
That mofo.
And then flip it off once he gets his, and then turn on the blue one because that eliminates him.
Okay. So we've covered that. That's the end of the book. And which, given the terse sort of packed nature of your style, was very terse.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind talking about that. I mean, yeah, the thing about that is, the funny thing about the book, it's the worst failure of my life. I mean, I didn't protect him, and that really upsets me to this day. But I don't mind talking about that because this showed that I was, I didn't have enough of the right stuff to deal with it. I shouldn't have gotten emotional and freaked out. I should have figured out a way of getting that guy out of there. Even if it was, saying to Richard, this guy's a bad egg. You gotta use the strong arm on this guy. I didn't know that. I didn't know Richard was a martial artist and the man's bodyguard. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, he had. Well, I mean, we haven't talked about Richard, but we got Arthur and Richard. There's some interesting cast of characters that were surrounding Manley.
Oh God, yes, yeah. Well, Arthur always, he wrote a book, I think, Sideman. He is a great sideman because he had a way about him, and he was.
Well, you want to talk about? We should probably introduce Arthur. So.
Okay. Well, Arthur Johnson was the first time I saw Arthur. Was that first lecture, and I saw this guy up on the stage, and he had a cigarette hanging out the side of his mouth and a smirk, and I knew he was a musician. I was like, that guy has the smirk of a musician. I just know it. And he was fiddling with the sound gear, and he even had a limp, which made him look more buccaneer or pirate than anything else. But I found out later, yes, indeed, he was a musician, and quite a musician indeed. He had such an amazing musical life. He was just extraordinary. He could play anything. He played lute. He did lute recitals in the library. He could play the blues, really play the blues. He was a teenager, and he was playing these clubs in San Diego that no kid should be in. And they loved him there. They'd always, have a chair for him, little table for a cigarette.
Didn't you say that Miles Davis complimented his guitar?
He did. He did. He was sitting at a bar, and Miles Davis walked up all in white mink. And I mean, full-length white mink coat, a white mink hat. And while Miles Davis said, "You play pretty good for a white boy." And Arthur, without hesitation, said, "Thank you, God." That was Arthur. He had Lena Horne stories that are just, I think Lena Horne was his favorite on a lot of levels, because when he talked about Lena Horne, it was love. You could just feel the love that he had for that woman.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah, I know. It's tough not to. Let's see, who else? I mean, he was just so funny because of all the things, me singing in punk rock, I would think that Uncle Norm would not approve of that kind of thing, and he absolutely loved it. He just thought it was wonderful and hilarious. He even thought I had perfect pitch, which I still laugh at. I mean, the man played with Streisand too. I mean, think about
that's
that.
right.
Tim Buckley, and he's like, "You're great, kid. Go on. Don't disappoint your Uncle Norm. Go on.
Well, it must have been so great for Ronnie to hang out with a mentor like that on a musical level, you know.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well, he played a very gentle hand with Ronnie. He would just go, nuts. You know what? Play guitar watching TV. Just play along with the commercials. You'll learn more doing that than you have any idea. Play when you're not doing nothing. That kind of teaching. Now, it's another thing to sit there in the room with him, to be at the restaurant and watch him play standards. You just swoon. I mean, it's Apollo and Aphrodite all at the same time. He's a Libra. He would have loved that. But the way he could change the tone and speak through the guitar was extraordinary. I mean, it was just such a gift of beyond human. And it's such a pleasure just to hear it. You know, Ronnie and I were both, pretty much never going to be able to play like that. But boy, it's fun to listen to, isn't it? I know this guy. But as musicians, just the encouragement alone. He built our first guitar and gave it to us, and I put stickers all over it like a true riot girl. Oh my God. And I still have it. And it looks lovely.
Wow.
It went on tour with us. Although I prefer my guitar, my Strat to that Telly.
Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, a final reminiscent you have with Manley, and your time there, of, some fond memory you'd like to share, or something that Manley left you with that you'll never forget?
Well,
or just read your book, because it's filled with that.
Yeah, just read the book. That's why I wrote it.
Exactly.
Those little moments, there were many of them. It's the joy of being able. It's just a privilege to be able to learn and to have that contemplation. The thing the last thing I put in that was the last thing he wrote, I think really summed up what Mr. Hall was and his influence. The world is my teacher. The people I come in contact with on a daily basis are the ones I learn the most from. The human experience. All the different ways people express love or grief or compassion or ignorance. All of those things are teachers. And, understand why that person is feeling that way. Understand their position. Understand their feelings. And try to learn the lessons from that. What does that teach you? What does it teach you about the world? What does it teach you about people? What does it teach you about yourself? So your entire life is nothing more than an education, an understanding of a mandala that's magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sums it up. The world is your teacher. Know thyself. Be nice to people.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the mandala. I love that.
Am I too... what was the phrase you used to describe my writing?
Well, no, terse isn't the right word. It's more that it's sort of like it's like you're kind of walking around stuff that's like a very vivid experience, and you tiptoe around it, and you know it's there, but kind of you're describing it sort of in retrospect out the rear view mirror in a way.
Well,
Maybe, I know. Yeah, and it's but just it's just like you let the reader form their own images. You just point to like the main features of it, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing a very good job. You should get somebody that's more articulate than me to describe your writing.
No, I do, because it's sort of like I don't, in a way, I don't want to influence it all. I want to give, this was what it was like to be around him from my perspective.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I do allude to, look, you sound like one of my editors, to be frank with you. It's like, but how did you feel about this? It's like,
how did you feel about this?
What was your feelings? You're a girl. Aren't you supposed to give these feelings?
Come on.
Jeez.
Yes.
Do we have some Kleenex around? I'll cry.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt.
But, he was a lovely man. He had a gentle, philosophical approach to life. He had a lot of information in that noggin, and he was funny. And I loved his voice. That combination of FDR and W.C. Fields was just priceless. But even if you were being flippant about something, there was always a cultural reference. There was always a story. There was always a tale to be told that would benefit you if you understood it. And like him, I'm just throwing it out there. You can make out of it whatever you want. I simply did not want to go over this story because it's very long at a cocktail party. It's just, you don't want to dominate the room at a party. You want to have fun and flit around like a butterfly. So I finally decided I'll tell the story. And, that was that.
Well, it's a wonderful story, and I love the style, even though I'm not able to articulate it very well. But anyway, enough of that. If people want to get in touch with you and your various presences here and there and everywhere, where would be the best place for people to connect with you in the future for all your nefarious and Ronnie Pontiac's nefarious activities?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see.
Lucid Nation.
That I don't know.
Okay.
I can link you up when I get them all in a row. I'm still kind of scattered right now, getting it all set up. I mean,
no, don't worry about it then. I just this is the chance, like, if people want to say, like, hey, I'm doing this or that, in the future, if you want to like hang out with me, then do that. Well, never mind. I'll put a link.
Look, I have always been there, like a little nature spirit sitting on a flower.
With Marianne Williams.
No, she's an elf, and that's different.
Oh, okay. Well,
they're very different.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, the elves will be so upset with you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I do have an enchanted spring near my house right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I make offerings to it every day almost.
Take a picture of it.
You're not going to like it because it's kind of like a. My idea of an enchanted is, the farmers might call it something else, like a tile, a drainage tile.
There's beautiful flowers growing out of the and right next to the water runoff, the great big metal and concrete flood channel stuff, and yet beautiful green growing there.
Exactly. And it does have green. It does have a drainage tile, and unfortunately has invasive honeysuckle plants. The bushes, which I'm slowly chopping down so that the hackberry, there are some hackberry trees in there too. So there actually are some native trees there. But anyway, I'll send you pictures of that later. We should really stop now. We've kind of gone far afield, but I would love to swap enchanted fairy spring stories with you sometime in the future. And thank you for being on the End of the Road podcast, Tamra. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Michael.